So for people who aren't familiar with public service loan forgiveness, can you give us your spiel for that?
Absolutely. So, four requirements. The first one is that you have direct loans, which, if you borrowed after 2010, you definitely do. But if you borrowed before 2010, there's a possibility you have something called FFEL loans. You need to look at your loan profile and see. But the requirement for PSLF is that your loans are direct. Second requirement is that you work at a nonprofit agency or a government agency, like I said, which is very popular in the world of social work.
Right.
So that's usually a pretty easy one to do.
Mm.
Any government agency, any 501c3 qualifies. Third requirement is that you're on an income driven repayment plan. So that's what we spent some time already talking about. All that alphabet soup that I gave you earlier, you have to choose one of those plans. And while they are 20 or 25 or even 30-year plans, if we're talking about RAP, you would only do it for 10 years. So that's the fourth requirement, is that you make 120 qualifying payments. And once you've made 120, which is the equivalent of 10 years, then your loans are forgiven tax-free.
That's pretty cool. What do you feel like? Are there any big misconceptions people have about PSLF or things that people really get like hung up on that you're often finding that are confusing?
100%. So with public service loan forgiveness, there's a lot of clickbaity articles out there saying that the forgiveness is not real. What had happened was, once again, in 2007, the program was born, and they didn't really do a good job of advertising how it worked. They didn't have a sign up process initially when they rolled it out. And so people were just working at places thinking like they were going to get the forgiveness, not realizing that there were criteria. So imagine 2007, I just mentioned, if your loans are after 2010, you definitely have direct loans. 2007, you could have still had those FFVL loans. That was no fault of yours. But you would have had to know to consolidate those loans and turn them into direct loans. If no one told you that, what did you do? You kicked your feet up. You worked at your nonprofit organization. 2017 rolled around and you're like, hey, I'm ready for forgiveness. And they're like, but you don't qualify. And you're like, wait, what? Like, I work at a nonprofit. Like, what do you mean? And it's because you did not have direct loans. So I think some of the misnomers around PSLF is that the success rates were really low to start out because people didn't understand the criteria, which, like I said, was partly people not looking into what the criteria was, but mainly it was their Department of Education not communicating very well. And so during the course of COVID, President Biden rolled out a PSLF waiver and tried to right that wrong and say, hey, if you are PSLF qualified, we're going to, overlook some of the criteria to help you get your forgiveness. And that helped a lot more people get it. So it is a real program. You can get forgiveness. You need to meet the criteria, and no, it is not going away. So those are my little piece of the puzzle related to PSLF.